This video was made possible by EA Game Changers. There we go then, my final F1 2021 gameplay video, and in this one I'm going to be answering your guys' questions. So I've already released two F1 2021 videos. If you haven't subscribed, make sure you do down below right now. But you guys have been putting all sorts of questions down in the comment section. So I'm going to be answering those today. There was about 500 comments that I scrolled through and found the kind of best and most common questions. And I've got around about 30 or so to answer for you. And in the background, we're also going to have some gameplay on Australia on F1 2021, driving the McLaren. I think Australia has not been featured too much. Now, the first question is going to be from my very first gameplay video, but other than that, there's going to be no real order to these questions. So this one is from Kyle, who says, will Turn 10 in Spain be updated later on in the game? Now, it isn't updated in F1 2021 in the current build that we have got, but I thought I'd put it to Codemasters just to double check. And they responded by saying all previously featured circuits are based on the 2020 season. 3 new circuits will be created using the 2021 season layout. Now, obviously, they mentioned specifically there the 3 new circuits because that's probably why they've not been able to update the various tweaks we've had to the circuits, because being on 3 entirely new circuits is such a big job. I'm not that surprised that they've not been able to update the other circuits. However, I'm interested that they have said that they're based on the 2020 season. Bear in mind it's the 2021 game. I'm interested that their license clearly allows them to kind of run year-old tracks, but as I said, the tracks do take a hell of a long time to make. Next up then we got Lucas, who says, will there still be a league mode to play a full season with my friends? I double checked this with Codemasters, and yes, the short answer to your question, absolutely. As in F1 2019 and 2020, there will still be a league mode. I don't think there's going to be any changes to it. They've not mentioned any changes to it. We'll obviously learn that when we do get the final build, but fundamentally it's still there, so it's not going to be going anywhere. The Nude Gamer, by the way, great name, says, but are red flags back in the game? Short answer is no. I have double checked this with them as well. No red flags in the game. To be honest, I see what you're saying, definitely. We've seen a lot of red flags, but red flags, while they're kind of spicy in real life, in reality, they're only really interesting to a die-hard F1 fan because, we just have to sit there for half an hour and no racing. It interrupts the race. Yes, we just had at Baku, we had a really interesting red flag where it had a really spicy last 2 laps. That's quite rare. That's the only time we've ever had a 2-lap sprint in F1's history, as far as I'm aware. So I'm not too upset they haven't got red flags, to be honest, in the game. Aman Lal says, so we still can't put the car onto the grid ourselves and drive in the pit lane. 2 unimpressed faces. The short answer is no, you can't. I assume it's down to licensing. I mean, they have to be careful with licensing. So pit lane in particular, you can't have people just driving through people, in the pit lane or crashing into each other. They need to be careful. It is an officially licensed game. It's based on F1. F1 themselves have to be very careful with the real life pit lane. Look at the pit lane speed limiter. If you speed by 1 km/h in the race, you get a penalty. They're very strict with it in real F1, so it's the same in the game world. Spoken Zex says, will the Halo stickers be only on multiplayer cars / My Team cars or like normal cars when you race online? The answer is, again, double check this one with Codemasters, is that you can only apply Halo stickers to player customizable cars. So that is the My Team car, which obviously you build yourself, and also the multiplayer car. That's where you can apply Halo stickers, not to any officially licensed cars. Again, probably down to licensing, so you can't put a Halo sticker on a Ferrari or a Mercedes or a McLaren or whatever. Enzo NL says, in real season start, is it kind of a career mode but with real races? So I thought with the real season start that it would just be like a season, but actually Codemasters came back to me and said it plays out like a normal career mode after you start the season. So it isn't just a season. It is a career mode, which is really interesting. So that to me says there'll be R&D and there'll be, all the stuff that you get in a normal career mode. And you can actually develop your car, so presumably they'll simulate the development up to that point in the season. I guess it's quite cool. It's career. I feel like I would rather it not be a career, honestly. I just want to race the season with the official kind of performance of the cars, probably more than that. But I guess the cars evolve throughout the season. I don't know. Let me know in the comments what you think of that one. But apparently it plays out like a normal career mode. Jeffrey says, I'm wondering, will the Breaking Point 2020 F1 cars also be usable in Championship mode, single player modes, time trial, Grand Prix, etc., and multiplayer, and if it have the same damage model? So the F1 2020 cars technically are in the game because, as you say, they are usable in the Breaking Point story mode, but they will not be playable anywhere else. Special Delano says, hi Alex, any info on side pod being able to be damaged in multiplayer and to be repaired? I double checked this with them. They've thought about this a bit. So you can damage the side pods, rear wing and floor now. They cannot be repaired in the pits. That's fine, that's realistic. They can't be repaired in the pits. But they thought about that and they've added damage options. So We've got the same damage options as before, as in you've got reduced, standard, and simulation, but those options now just affect which parts of the car can be damaged and how much that damage affects you. They've added a new option which is called damage rate, I believe it is, which affects how likely you are to get damage from contact. So if you put the damage rate on low, if you smash into a car, you're less likely to damage your wing than if you put it on simulation. And then the other mode, yes, so basically if you wanted to just have the repairable components, you put the damage on reduced, and then you put the damage rate on simulation. That should be similar to last year, although I will admit probably the downforce loss from losing rear wing would be less than last year, but it ends up being similar. Primal YouTuber says, will contract negotiations be private for two-player career, or so my brother online who doesn't know who I signed for? Makes a lot of sense, and you know, I've got a million questions about two-player career. Obviously we don't know a lot of it just yet, but I put it to them anyway. I said, hey look, you know, I realise you're not saying much about two-player career at the moment, but this would be a cool, just little bit of information if you could just give this to us. And luckily they did. So this is the quote they said. They said, during the negotiation phase, the player who isn't in a live negotiation will see brief updates on what's going on for the other player. For example, rumours that Gillen is in talks with Ferrari, or talks between Gillen and Ferrari collapse. We want the player to know what's going on to a degree, but in a similar way to the rumours you hear surrounding the silly season in the sport. I love that. I love the way they've done that. They've clearly thought about it, and they've implemented quite a cool little system where it sounds like each player may have their own inboxes that are completely separate and not visible to the other person. And it sounds like in the inbox you'll just get an email that just sort of says, you know, oh, we've heard some rumours that Gillen, your teammate, whatever your teammate's called, is in talks with Ferrari at the moment. So it's kind of rumours based, and then obviously if they collapse, yeah, I would love it if there's a bit of kind of a probability in there. So sometimes the rumour's just completely wrong, like you've not done anything to talk to another team, but sometimes it's just like, oh, teammates thinking about moving to Ferrari. You'd be like, what? I would love it if they introduced a randomness. I don't know if that element will be there, but anyway, I like the way they've done that, and I'm really excited to do a two-player career. Nook PLM says, will those classic players be playable as well? Like maybe as an avatar, blah, blah, blah. So the iconic drivers is what he's talking about. No is the answer, unfortunately. They will only be signable as a teammate in my team. That is the only place you'll be able to use the likeness of people like Jensen Button, Ayrton Senna. So you can't use them as your own driver. You can't use them anywhere. It is only that. James Goodall says, do we know if the game is cross-gen or cross-platform yet? So I'm not too sure what you're getting here, but I'll explain the whole situation. It is cross-gen and cross-platform in that it is available on all these platforms. So it's available on PS4, PS5, Xbox One, Xbox Series S, Xbox Series X, and PC. So it is available on all of those platforms. In terms of cross-gen, yes, you will get a free upgrade from one generation to another. And interestingly, you can play online across generations, but not cross-platforms. So I want to be clear about that. You can play with PS4 and PS5 players. They can play together, but Xbox and PlayStation cannot play together still. Hoping that will change in the future, but that is what it is for now. So then we've got Dylan, who's saying, can you hire 2 drivers in my team and become a full owner? No is the answer. I mean, fundamentally, this is obviously a driving game, right? So there's better management games out there, let's be honest, than this one in terms of management. So although that might be cool as an option, obviously they put so much time into making this game a good driver's game. I do get it. Sebastian says, will they keep tracks like Vietnam or China, which are not on the 2021 calendar? The answer is China is available everywhere, not Vietnam, because that isn't then, but China is in their Breaking Point career mode, and it obviously was supposed to be in the 2021 calendar. So China is available everywhere, apart from Season 1 of Korea, and apart from Ranked Online. Other than that, it is available everywhere, and interestingly, from Season 2 onwards, it will also be available in Korea. Sebastian again says, is the 2-player career mode the normal career or my team? So I believe it is just the standard career. Again, we've not got confirmation of that yet. They're being quite tight-lipped on the 2-player stuff for now. But it is just standard career as far as I'm aware, not my team career. So you will just be signing for one of the teams rather than creating your own team. Tyler says, for the real season start, if you decide to enter real season from Bahrain to Abu Dhabi, do the AI finish or DNF in the same positions that they do in real life in every race throughout the season? So I want to be clear on this. When you do real season start, you start at the point you choose to start. If you choose to start at the first race of the season, nothing will be simulated. It will just be like doing a normal season. But if you just decide to start in race 2, the race 1 results and the championship standings will be exactly as they were in real life. So it's not simulated. After you started the season, nothing's simulated. That's just by the game then. It's not the same as real life. Super Veloce Jota says, I really hope the replays are in 60 FPS now on Xbox Series X. I asked Cody's, they weren't willing to commit yet to what they were going to do with replays, and obviously it's a preview build, so we're not able to say anything more on that for now. Ayrton Senna, good name, says, can you please ask Codemasters to put in classic cars again? I asked them and they said no. No, I'm joking. No, they basically said we've concentrated on other areas of the game this year, which honestly I don't mind. This is definitely the biggest improvement year on year that I've ever seen in the Codemasters F1 series of games. So I'm not too upset, to be totally honest with you, that they're gone. I didn't use them a huge amount anyway, and they've added a hell of a lot of features, so I'm not too bothered about that. Moving on then to questions from my 40 features video that I did. Dr. Thundergun says, since when was EA involved in the F1 games? I've not mentioned this previously actually, but for those who don't know, EA bought Codemasters at the start of this year. I think it's for over $1 billion. It was a big acquisition. At the moment, they're planning to keep them separate, so they're not planning to force them to use their engine and to move studios. At the moment, they're letting them do their thing. As far as I'm aware, that will remain, so don't worry too much. I'm sure some things will change. I know some things have changed in terms of the preview for us YouTubers, but fundamentally it's going to be the same game going forward, I believe, so don't worry too much about that. Does the rear wing also bend? Answer's no. That would be cool to see, some flexing, but there's quite a lot of graphics involved with doing that, so I understand why not. Your random guy says, will there be my team still? Short answer, yes, there will still be my team in F1 2021. Luca Ferrari says, does that mean that you'll go faster in the straights if you go on curb or outside the track if you have less downforce? So this is in reference to the new floor downforce system that's generated within the game. I believe the answer is no. I think drag is completely separate from the downforce in the game, although they're linked in real life. I think in the game they're separate, so your drag will remain the same whether you're on a curb losing downforce or not. NetZU says, I noticed they made the pit stop a little more realistic. Yes, loads of people noticed this, and yes, they have improved the AI-driven pit lines within the pit stop procedure to be a bit more of a realistic curve. Before it's quite sharp, now it's much more realistic. Sandeep says, I swear if this version doesn't have mouse pointers too, I'm not buying it. Navigating F1 2020 with keyboard is extremely cumbersome. I hear you. I asked Codemasters about this, and their response, I'm going to quote here what they said. It's a point of discussion. On face value, it might appear a simple thing to add, and from a tech perspective, it is. The knock-on would be us having to overhaul the majority of navigation in the game, which is a mammoth task. I think basically they're saying there's not that many people on PC, so it's not worth us redoing our entire UI just so 1% of their players can navigate. I kind of get them coming from. However, someone like Rocket League has mouse navigation. I really like that, so it'd be awesome to see them have that. Hamdan says they now need to do two things. One, make the pad handling better. It's so bad enough. And two, stop making the safety car only come in once we enter set 3 and stop giving us restricted throttle. Pad handling, they're always working on that, but I will say it is always a balance. I don't think pads should be faster, but I also want pad to use the same physics as being on a wheel, so they need kind of some assist, if you like, to help them. Honestly, I like the balance at the moment. I think pad players can be competitive, but at the top of esports level, you don't want someone using a pad. So fundamentally, wheel is always going to be a bit better. In terms of safety car, I don't mind that they make a decision quite late to bring it in, to be honest. And interestingly, you now don't have traction control enabled under safety car. So previously, when they said safety car is coming in this lap, there was a bit of traction control that got enabled. That meant you couldn't wheel spin and warm up your rear tyres. That is no more, at least in the preview build. Pegasus says, so I'm sure the tyres can delaminate. So I said that in the last video that the tyres can't delaminate. They can, in that you can see a gap between the tread of the tyre and the sidewalls, but the actual bulk of the tyre will not ever come separate from the car. It will always remain attached to the car. Again, probably licensing. You can't have tyres flying everywhere. So it's a bit of a shame for that, but it is what it is. Adam says, so no rich fuel mix? Nope, that is now gone. It is just standard through qualifying and the race. And then you can use lean during the safety car period, but you cannot use rich anymore. Jared says, Slipstream looks so much stronger than the 2020 version. It's actually the same. Slipstream is not any stronger in this game. It is absolutely identical, at least in the preview build that we've got. Dan says, can someone explain what ray tracing is? So that's quite a big question till the end. I'll try and explain quickly. But what I've written here is ray tracing is all to do with light. It accurately maps the travel of light both in shadows and reflections, and it's hardware accelerated. And on F1 2021, I should correct as well, on PC as well as next gen, I thought PC was going to be different before, ray tracing will be enabled only in cutscenes, replays, photo mode and menus. So that is it. It won't be in the live action, you won't have ray tracing enabled. Last question then from Justin M says, can you spectate the safety car? No, sadly. And will the game allow lap cars to overtake the safety car? Also no, unfortunately. Anyway, guys, that rounds out that video. Trying to squeeze this in 15 minutes. Hopefully you enjoyed that one, and I'll catch you next time. Don't forget to subscribe if you're new. Bye-bye.